Adam, can you hear me? Oh, I heard me over there. Awesome.
I'll ask my question for the record, I guess. I don't have questions that will.
Yes.
Sweet.
I have a question about.
Daphne, would you be able to scoot over there?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't think we need to get them on the phone.
Do you
I'll ask
need
my
me to
question
scoot
for the
it out?
record. and it can-
Maybe just a little bit, like,
I
You know what,
that'd be helpful.
We'll shift.
Yeah.
How's that?
Why this ended up. It was a meeting just for this.
Yes, exactly.
Change chairs.
So we don't read our computers, or we do?
I don't think so.
You don't think, you want to?
And Adam is monitoring, so I'm just leaving my computer. I'm getting out of here.
He will be
Maybe we should
long.
be, what,
Okay.
5 minutes?
Yeah, just gotta go.
All right, I think that's everyone. Oh, nope. Can you guys scoot in anymore at all? I'm sorry. There, that's perfect.
Thank you.
Absolutely. How long do you guys think you'll be?
10 minutes.
Yeah, it won't be long at all.
Great, I'll just wait there.
I don't know anyone who makes sense. Cannot wait until we get to the retreat. I'm just saying. What'd you say?
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Whoa. Okay. So are we streaming?
Yes.
Actually,
When features.
so we're,
So it's picking us up over there.
okay, so we are streaming?
Yes.
Okay. It is, what time is it? 7:18 a.m. and I'm going to call the special meeting to order. Mr. Gooding, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Coates,
Here.
Mrs. Horn,
Here.
Mr. Manley,
Here.
Mrs. Maureen,
Here.
Mrs. Pickle Antonio.
Here. Looks like we have 4 items for action under financial business. If there is not an objection to taking those 4 items together, is there a motion to approve items number 1 through 4 under letter A?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Manley, and I think I heard a second from Mrs. Horn. Any discussion about these items?
Just probably more so for the 3 new on these work with transfers, just what the transaction behind it. A transfer is moving money from one fund to another because there's no dedicated revenue source for the receiving fund. And the only way to do that is through a transfer. So we're moving within the general fund, but we're moving it into the budget reserve, which was an issue in the previous audit. There was a question about there was forecasted more than what we could put in legally. This puts in exactly up to the 5% amount, according to the ORC 570513, gets the budget reserve where we can to the max. The other one is just a movement from the PI fund to the debt service to pay for the permanent improvement tax anticipation notes. And then we make severance payments for retirees out of a 035 fund. The only way to get money there is to move it from the general fund. The second item are advances, and this is just kind of, if you'll think of an accounting shell game, is a temporary transaction at the end of June. So these are funds that were expended for Shepherd Christian. We haven't received the money from them yet. So we have to advance the money to have the fund be 0. Once we get the payment from them, we advance it back. Then items 3 and 4 are the appropriations. Item 3 is the final appropriations for 22. Appropriations are the statutory limit that gives us the spending authority. So this is the ceiling, if you will, of what we can spend by fund up to that amount. Our expenses will come below these, but this is the ceiling, if you will. And then item 4 is the appropriations for 23. I will point out, if you look at the two, there's a difference you'll see in the building fund, significant
That's
jump.
what I was just gonna ask.
My came in March. I would not have done the 22 appropriation the way it was. They only appropriated a portion of the bond issue and the COPS issue. In 23, we're allocating the full amount. So then we'll be able to track this going forward. So this is really, this shows you how much cash is remaining in that fund for spending. We won't spend that all next year, but we're just putting it there so we have that in the system so we can track it. These numbers will line up with what we see from Turner when we look at the cost reports.
So
That's
that's
what the
Okay,
difference
that
is.
makes
210
sense.
is all that's remaining.
It's the cash plus $660,000 at this point estimated for interest earnings for next year. Good thing is I think we'll have to come back because we're hoping that we're gonna have more interest than what that is, but that's what the projection is on the revenue side. We got 660,000 for interest in there.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, absolutely.
Just on page 2, who's Shepherd Christian? What is,
It's on, an auxiliary school that's in the boundaries of the district. So we hired, there's an employee that we paid for that. So then we would pay for that. We would send them an invoice and they would reimburse us for it. And this is just the lag in the invoice.
okay.
Can you?
No, it won't
Is that at
happen.
one time?
Yes, this gets it back up to 0 because that person is now actually hired
Okay,
for us.
Okay.
So we don't have any services for them for next year.
okay.
Can you maybe just give a little explanation for new board members about why we would do that?
Auxiliary services, we serve as a fiscal agent for them. So there are funds that will come from the Department of Education, whether it's state money or federal money that can't go directly to them. That'll come to the local education agency, which is us. And that's why you'll see those go through this way.
So we do that not only for Shepherd, but we do it for
St.
other,
Matthew,
right?
Okay.
So because they're in our district.
right.
And
Okay.
it's not a voluntary, it is
Yes,
a
yes.
mandatory.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
And the food service line item is 2 million less, basically because the federal government's not subsidizing.
Correct, that stopped. Yes.
Any other questions or discussion?
So the only other thing that I was looking at was the ESSER funds. So that is everything that we should be,
So you're looking at it for
507.
23.
yeah,
Yes, so what we've done in all the state and federal grants, we've looked at the money that, the remaining money from FY 22 that has not been spent, so that kind of is our
okay,
carryover. So we know we're gonna get that and
Right.
spend that between now and the end of September.
okay,
So we have those expenses from 22 plus the initial allocation for 23 for those grants as well.
okay. So there is some remaining from
Yes.
22 that
Yes,
we're
yes, yeah.
anticipating, okay. Thank you.
And the zero out items, that's, you still have to track when there are.
And it's funny because I was going to point at that point, the one from the Student Wellness Success Funds, they were part of the general fund, then with the previous change, they made a separate fund to track those. Then they moved it back to the general fund, so that's why in 23, the Student Wellness
Okay.
Success Fund is 0.
Okay,
The other one.
From the state.
Coronavirus
Right.
relief.
That was Fund 510. That was money that was received and spent this year. So on 22s, you'll see an amount. On 23, you won't because that's all gone.
got it.
So yeah, I mean, we could have taken those off. I think we just kind of
To track.
left it lined. Miscellaneous federal grants,
76 cents.
miscellaneous, yeah, it was,
You're down to the
they
pennies.
did, well, we are. They didn't spend it all. So we now have the authority to either send back the 76 cents or spend it if we can.
Buy some
This
stamps.
this is where we get in the weeds, yeah. But then the federal grant is 0. We don't have any federal miscellaneous federal grants we've applied for. If and when we do, then those will come to the board for an amendment, because if we've got a new grant, it's 50,000, you're gonna
Got it.
see a request for an increase.
So it's not that we can't do it, it's just
Right,
at
it's just
this
at this
point in
point, we don't
time,
have any.
right.
They're
Right,
not known.
right?
Can I ask a general question? Termination benefits, what is that?
Termination benefits, that is
Packages.
the severance payment.
Okay. Is that amount typical or you have no idea?
Typically, I think the 275,000 is the number that has gone in each year.
Okay,
I think 22 is a little bit higher.
okay. That makes sense.
Yes, so we
Okay,
paid more out in
okay,
22 than we typically do. And I'm just
thanks.
making sure it says that we are streaming. So text, seems we're running behind, so I'm not.
Uh-oh. Yeah, see,
It says it's live on YouTube on the recording here.
it's,
So it's recording, so if it's not streaming live, then at least we'll get the recording up there. See if Gina's out there.
yeah, I'm gonna check the YouTube.
Scott, public school support, what is that? That's number 18.
This is, so there might be
It says-
funds that are available to the
It looks like
buildings.
we are.
Yeah, I'm just a participant. You're good. And it is streaming to YouTube.
Okay, all right. Any other questions about items under financial business? Okay, Mr. Gooding, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Pickle Antonio.
Yes.
Mrs. Coates.
Yes.
Mrs. Horn.
Yes.
Mr. Manley.
Yes,
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
There are 8 items for action under letter B, human resources is, unless there's an objection to taking those 8 items together, is there a motion to approve items number 1 through 8 under letter B?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Mooring. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Coates. I actually had a question that I don't think can be answered today, but I just want to ask the question for a future explanation. So I believe that one of the items involves an employee who is resigning as an educational aide at the high school and then accepting a position as an educational aide at the preschool. The question that I have, and I would like to have some future discussion about, is why we hire our educational aides and teachers at the preschool through the Educational Service Center rather than through the district. And that could be a topic for future, since there's nobody here today to answer that question. Any other questions or discussion? If not, Mr. Gooding, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickle Antonio.
Yes.
Mrs. Coates.
Yes.
Mrs. Horn.
Yes.
Mr. Manley.
yes.
Motion carried.
That is it for the agenda for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Horn. I think we had a second from Mr. Manley. Any discussion? Can you call the roll one more time, Mr. Gooding?
Mr. Manley.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickle Antonio.
Yes.
Mrs. Coates.
Yes.
Mrs. Horn.
Yes.
Motion carried.
It is 7:30 PM or AM, 7:30 AM.
That's a switch.
But we're still streaming, so.